welcome to the June 20th Public Service Commission meeting. Before we get into our business, I would like to talk about the piece of correspondence I got in the mail and from the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, which is the federal organization that supervises the various states in their functions of making sure that our pipelines are safe. And I know that Jerry Platt, our program manager, was the Eastern Region chair of that organization and up until a short time ago. And also, the letter indicates that Bob Shafkin has also participated in one of their webinars and assisted them in a webinar. But what really caught my attention was that the federal organization, ranks using two methods. One is the overall pipeline safety program performance. Another is an annual program evaluation when they come in personally to make a personal inspection of the program and the people. And with respect to the first part of the progress report, there's a possible score of 50 points, and Jerry and his team got 50 points out of 50. With respect to the second part, the progress report, there's also a 50 points in that in the gas pipeline safety program, and Jerry's team got a 50 in that too. So they got 100% on both of the tests. And on top of that, we've added, fortunately, mobiles over the last year or so to the team, and the team has increased its operator inspection activity days. As a matter of fact, Bob Shafkin is not here today because he's out inspecting pipelines. From 126 days in 2012 to 188 days in 2016, so it's a little large jump, which is good to see. Also, the safety incidences have decreased by 50%. I'm sure that our pipeline safety people are responsible for 100% of that. But also the cast iron mains have been reduced from 91.6 miles in 2012 to 71.4 miles in 2016. I just want everyone to know about this. This is a really glowing report from Jerry Platt and his team. So the Commission wants to express its gratitude to each member of the team, and thanks for all your good work. We do have some meeting minutes of June 6, 2017. Does anyone want them read? Do you have any changes they want made, or is there perhaps a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes of the June 6th meeting as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The consent agenda. There are 7 items on the consent agenda. Does any commissioner desire to have any one of those taken off for the regular agenda?
Move we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The regular agenda. The first item is in the matter of the application of Delaware Power and Light Company to revise the rate for the utility facility relocation charge. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Winslow. Chair Winslow and Commissioners, this is our semi-annual application under the provisions of 26 Delaware Code Section 315. As a result of the application, our rate will change for the UFRC from 0.05% to 0.02%. We have also included an additional minor tariff change in the application that was submitted to clarify that this rate applies to base rate charges only. The staff has prepared a memo of their review, and we have seen the form of order and are satisfied with the form of order and would ask that you approve the rate as proposed.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mr. Willard?
Yes, Chair. As
Ms. Scott said, seeks a 0.2% UFRC rate. This is based on plan additions over $1.5 million. And the staff would ask the commission not necessarily to approve this, but to allow it to go into effect subject to subsequent review. The public advocate will help with any audits, and Delmarva will inform its customers about this.
Mr. Slater?
We are fine with this and don't have any further comment.
Any commissioners have any questions about this application?
I move that we adopt the order number 9078.
Second the motion?
Any discussion on the motion to approve proposed order number 9078? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Number 2, in the matter of the application of Delmarva Power and Light Company to revise the rate for the utility facility relocation charge. It sounds like a repeat, doesn't it?
This one is for the gas expenses as opposed to the prior one being for electric.
01 and now 02. Ms. Scott?
Thank you. And may I approach to hand you an additional exhibit?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I provided you with an amended portion of the application. This had already been reviewed by staff before they prepared their memo, but it was not included with the documentation that had been forwarded to you, so I wanted to make sure that you had it before you. Like the prior application, this application is to allow us to propose a rate in connection with expenses associated with the utility facility relocation charges as permitted by 26 Delaware Code Section 315. In this instance, the gas rate would go from 0.05 to 0.33%. This would allow us to put the rate into effect subject to further audit and review by staff and the EPA.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mr. Walsh?
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. Ms. Scott is correct. We reviewed and compiled our proposed order. We believe that 0.33% to go into effect July 17th, 2017 is proper. We did have a chance as well, staff and myself, to review the exhibit which Ms. Scott just handed. And, of course, this is also, like the prior docket, subject to the annual audit and reconciliation of the staff. And with that, we would request that the Commission approve the form of order.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Slater?
We have no further comment. Thank you.
Any commissioners have any questions on this application, docket 170402? Mr. Gray?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the order number 9080 has the revised numbers contained in it already, yes?
It does.
Okay, great, thanks. Mr. Chair, I move that the Commission adopt order number 9080 as submitted.
I second that.
Any discussion on the motion to approve order number 9080? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thanks again, Ms. Scott. Number 3 is in the matter of the application of Teleport Communications America to obtain numbering resources in the Holyoke Rate Center. Mr. Willard.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is an interesting case. On June 1st, 2017, Teleport filed an application to acquire one block of 1,000 additional numbers for a corporate customer in the Holyoke Rate Center in Newcastle. That's only after the request had been denied by Newstar. Newstar is the FCC designated North American Numbering Plan Administrator, along with its National Thousands Block Numbering Pool Administrator. And the FCC requires that a carrier demonstrate a couple of things in order to get this. Number one, that the rate center equals or exceeds 75% of the utilization level, meaning the carrier is using at least 75% of the assigned numbers. And number two, that the existing inventory will be exhausted within 6 months. And that's called the months to exhaust, or the MTE. Here, Newstar denied this because Teleport simply didn't meet those requirements. Its rate was only 60.65% instead of 75%, and the inventory wasn't there either. Now, under the Code of Federal Regulations, a state commission has the authority to grant what's called safety valve relief and allow a carrier to pick up these additional numbers. The commission here has adopted a process on how to do this back in Order Number 7183 back in 2007. And at that point, the commission said that in order to get this, the applicant's going to have to show a compelling and permissible need for the additional numbering resources. Here, Teleport says, one of its Delaware customers needs 100 consecutive telephone numbers in order to operate. Teleport doesn't have the inventory to give them that. A federal order states that a state commission can grant this request if there's a lack of inventory. So the commission does have that power. Secondly, the commission required that a description of why granting this will not run the risk that numbering resources will be inefficiently used. Here, because the additional number is for one specific customer, and it'll be returned if the request is withdrawn or denied, that's not going to happen. Number three, the commission requires written evidence that this national association, those two national associations, has rejected the application. And here the application to Teleport shows that they requested this and it was denied. And fourth, they have to describe any long-term impact to the numbering resources. Here they say there will be none. There are only 44 numbering blocks in this rate center. That's less than 3% of the total. This is a mature area. It really can't reasonably be expected to have significant additional numbering needs. So given that it's a modest percentage of available resources involved, there should be no adverse impact. Given all of this, the staff has reviewed this and feels that this should be granted in accordance with the law.
Thank you, Mr. Willard. Any questions by the commissioners?
I have one question, Mr. Chair. Yes. So when I look at this and it says Newstar has a request for a set of 1,000 numbers, and the requirement, Teleport states that they need 100 consecutive numbers. Would Newstar have approved this if the number of the requested numbers had been lower?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. I believe it comes in blocks of 1,000. They need 100 consecutive numbers. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the requests are always in blocks of thousands?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Gray. Any other questions?
Move we adopt order number 9077 as presented.
I second that.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve proposed order number 9077? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Willard, for your business. And number 4, in the matter of the application of Tidewater Utilities for the approval of their semi-annual adjustment to the distribution system improvement precinct charge. Welcome, Ms. Higgins.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. Order number 9073 before you today approves Tidewater's 2016 DSIC rates of 1.03%, which was effective January 1st through June 30th, 2016. And then its next rate of 1.9% effective July 1st through December 31st of 2016. We are in agreement with the findings of the audits and support this formal order.
For purposes of the record, the number was inaccurate on the agenda. It's actually 9081.
Okay, thank
Walsh? Do you have anything?
No,
Mr.
this
Whitman,
is mine, Your Honor, yes. Yeah, this was applied for back in November of 2015. They asked to go from 0.37% to 1.06%. They had additions at the time of over $1.2 million. We opened an order back in December of 2015. The rate was okayed, subject to subsequent review. May 2016, they now come back and ask for 1.9%, following additions of about $1.5 million. Okay, and the staff recommends a final okay on the first docket from 2015. And in regard to 2016, there was an overcollection of over $24,000. The plan additions were accurate, but the company apparently overstated their total retirement costs associated with their meters. They thought it would be $9,610. It actually turned out to be over $169,000. And the company is going to try to make sure those things get straightened out in the future. So there was a total over collection, I understand, of $8,046, and this will be reconciled in their next case, which you will hear in a moment, case number 170330. And I understand the public advocate has no dispute with this, and the staff recommends okay. And Mr. Josh is here if there's any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Will. Mr. Slater?
Mr. Chair, we have no objection to this order. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Higgins, out of curiosity, how much impact does this have on a monthly basis to one of your consumers? Any idea?
Well, it happened in the past, so last year, so it was probably around, this last one was 2.44% and it was 1.63. It was probably 80 cents
Okay.
over the bill. That's my
Thank
guess.
you. Any commissioners have any other questions?
Move we adopt order number 9081.
I second.
Any discussion on the motion to approve 9081? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Number 5 is another one from Tidewater, Ms. Higgins. This is proposed order number 9073.
Tidewater Utilities, Inc. comes before you today seeking approval to reset its DSIC to 2.43% on an interim basis, subject to audit and final approval. The requested rate is expected to result in additional revenues of $368,206. We are in agreement with the form of order, and I do have the list of projects that the improvements that were placed in service, should you want to hear them.
Mr. Walsh?
Thank you, Chair Winslow. We did discuss the application as well as the revised application submitted from Tidewater, and we found that the amount sought was in compliance with Section 314B7, being less than 5%, and the increase found is reasonable. It's from 2.44 to, decreased to 2.43, which is based on a net additional plan of $551,704, plus an additional annual depreciation expense of $2,439, and we would, as we have with prior orders, ask that this be approved, subject to staff's annual audit.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Slater?
Mr. Chair, we have no objection to this order. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
Move we approve order number 9073 as presented.
I second it.
Any discussion on the motion to approve proposed order number 9073? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Higgins. Okay, number 6 is in the matter of the application of the Sussex Shores Water Company for their semi-annual adjustment to their DSIC. Mr. Collins, do you wish to make any comments?
The only comments that we have are that we agree with the findings of the staff and agree also also to the refund of the DC 50 overclaim.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Willie?
Yes, Your Honor, I don't want to take too long here, but back in November of 2015, they applied for a 2.83% based on plan additions of a little over $266,000 along with associated depreciation expense. The commission opened a docket in December of 15. In March of 2017, the staff was finally able to do an audit, and they found no discrepancies in the customer bills. They reviewed a lot of things and found everything to be okay. However, on the quarterly rate of return, based on the 12 months ending December 2015 and March 2016, the company was earning a return on its rate base in excess of what was approved by the commission. Thus, the company was not authorized to collect a DSIC during those months, during the first and second quarters of 2016. The company collected over $20,000 between January and June of 2016, and this will be refunded to their customers along with interest. The reports for the periods ending June 30th, 2016 and September 30th, 2016 shows that the rate of return had dropped below its authorized rate. So the DSIC was okay for the third and fourth quarters of 2016. They collected over $27,000 between July 1 and December 31st, 2016. This resulted in an overcollection. All right. The overcollection amount was $6,755, and this will be included in that refund to customers. The staff was notified that the DSIC collected from January 1 to June 2017 will also need to be refunded because the company's quarterly rate of returns for the period in December 16 to March 17 show again the rate of return exceeding their authorized rate. So once again, there will be another refund. The staff and the company have agreed to a plan of refund. And again, that's all laid out in the proposed order. And the staff recommends approval of the order. And again, Mr. Bowman is here if there's any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. Mr. Bowman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We don't have any objections to this order. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have one question. So this is order number 9074 on page 4, where it says that staff notified the company will also have to refund the total amount of the DISC revenue collected during the period from January 1, 17 to June 30, 2017. There doesn't appear to be any amount quantified. How is that, where will that be handled?
I think we just haven't completed our calculations, but I'll let Mr. Bowman handle that.
The reason there's no amount yet is because we'll collect the DSIC until the end of this month, but then we'll stop it going forward from July 1st, and then we can go back into the bank and do total calculation of DSIC amount plus interest. We're going to do all of it at one time so they can go ahead and take care of it all.
That's a separate process. That's kind of what
Yes.
I'm looking for. Okay, very good. That helps. Thank you, Mr. Chair. No further questions.
We have a motion on order numbers 90.
The commission, Mr. Chair, I move the commission adopt order number 9074 as submitted.
Second the motion.
Any discussion on the motion to approve 9074? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Collins. The matter of application of Suez Delaware, Inc., assuming no semi-annual adjustment to the distribution system improvement charge. Mr. Finnegan,
Right.
welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. Before you is the matter of Suez Water Delaware's semi-annual adjustment to the distribution system improvement charge, application which was filed on May the 25th. I've had an opportunity to read the staff memo dated June the 15th, as well as the proposed order 9075, and the company is in agreement with both.
Mr. Walsh?
Thank you, Chair Winslow. That is accurate recitation. I only add that we, in reviewing the application, discovered that there was one cost. It was originally filed for 1.53%. It's reduced as reflected in the order to 1.07%. And that was the result of determination that there was included in there a plant that was put into service between July 1st, 2016 and April 30th, 2017, and that was not within the window that had been applied to this basic rate. And when that was removed, everything correlated and matched the code requirements, and so the order reflects the accurate adjustment, and we recommend, ask the Commission to approve this order, again, subject to the annual review audit.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Slater?
Mr. Chair, we have no objection to this order. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioners?
Move we adopt order number 9075.
Seconded.
Any discussion on the motion to approve proposed order number 9075? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Finnegan. By the way, I enjoyed reading about that new machine you guys have.
The hydro excavator.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a cool machine.
Wonderful tool, and it's brought great value to the company as well as the customers.
Yeah.
I
Something
can
else-
share personal testimony from our customers if you're interested in that.
I'm not right now.
Maybe it's some other time.
I think the time will you are going to come back in and give us a little report, I believe, anyway, right?
Absolutely, yes. I'll do that later this year.
Thanks, Larry.
Absolutely, thank you.
Number 8, in the matter of the application of Delaware Power and Light Company for approval of their qualified fuel cell provider project tariffs. Welcome again, Ms. Scott.
Thank you, Chair.
Do we have more fun on this one?
Absolutely.
Good.
This is the monthly application for the filing for the QFCP. The filing was made in May, and an error was discovered in some of the information that had been provided, so we made an amended filing in June. Spent a lot of time working back and forth with staff to make sure that the information was in fact corrected. So we are now submitting the application as revised for approval, and we would ask that the 30-day requirement for notice of the revised rate, that be waived, because the result is that, in fact, there will be a slight reduction in the rate for the customer as a result of the correction of the error.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mr. Walsh?
Thank you, Chair Winslow. Ms. Scott is correct in her recitation, and we are in agreement with the order as submitted. The staff worked very diligently with Delmarva in getting these numbers to mesh correctly, and I think the order accurately reflects that. And as to the 30-day waiver, we are also in agreement with that.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Slater, I don't think you have a...
Nope. We're okay. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
Move we adopt order number 9079 as presented.
Second the motion.
Any discussion on the motion to approve proposed order number 9079? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Scott.
Thank you.
We have a hearing schedule which is devoid of any activity. But it's just to use that time a little bit, I'd like to say hello and recognize in our audience out there, Lori Murphy-Lee from PJM. So welcome to Lori. Thank you for attending. Also, if there's anybody out there in the public that would wish to make any comment helpful to the Public Service Commission, if you'd come forward at this time. Mr. Collins, you want to speak again?
No.
No? Make sure there's nobody there. Okay, we do have somebody who's going to speak. That's our director.
Chairman Winslow, commissioners, obviously you have time to burn this afternoon, so I'll try and drag this out as long as I can.
Thank you.
The first thing we have promised on the agenda was under director's comments was the staff update to the commission on the status of the artificial island project. Let's see, when you were all back in kindergarten, back on August 28th, 2015, we filed a complaint at FERC, just to make you aware. That's a long time ago, it seems, in many respects. But it's been a long, lengthy process. We've gone through technical conferences. We've gone through filings of complaints. We've filed requests for rehearing. You're probably all well aware of the long and lengthy track record of the artificial island stuff. I could cajole you with details and dates and everything like that if you're interested. But what I really wanted to talk about was the fact that as a result of the PJM board's direction to the PJM planning staff, we were able to see a couple of alternative cost allocations that the PJM planning staff has put forward. One was the stability interface defects method, which I believe was the favored method from PJM's perspective because it's repetitive and can be redone, and it handles things with load flows again, which was much easier on the PJM planning staff. They also provided us with an option called the stability deviation method, and it's a transient stability study that's under worst fault conditions. And I'm already over my head in this, but it measures the phase angle deviation on load and multiplies that deviation times the load, and it comes up with an allocation. And no matter which allocation you look at, from our perspective, anytime you can get down to roughly 10 to 12%, we're happy with it. However, just because PJM did this study and provided these to us, PJM is not the official party to be filing anything with FERC with respect to cost allocation. That's reserved for the transmission owners. So we know that whatever we do at this point would have to either work through the transmission owners, or we would have to work through FERC in order for FERC to require the transmission owners to file something. So in talking about the impacts of this new study, I mean, it reduces about a $3.50 a month residential bill cost down to, I believe, the public advocate guessed about 30 cents. And I think that's probably in the ballpark of what we would expect to see. So coming down, that's a $3.20 a month saving for consumers if, in fact, we could get this cost allocation approved by FERC. Obviously, we have to choose one or the other, I guess, and we will be doing that. We are in process of having discussions with our attorney, trying to determine exactly what actions we will take as a result of where we stand today. Our actual complaint is still in deferred status at PJM. We asked them to defer it. I'm sorry, at FERC. We asked them to defer it until such time as PJM had decided what direction they were going to take. Obviously, we will attempt to activate that, and we will be doing that with additional information that PJM has provided to us. What actions FERC will take at that point, we really have no idea. Other than the fact that until they get a quorum, they won't be taking any actions. I understand that Commissioner Powelson and Mr. Neil Chatterjee appeared before the Senate Nominations Committee on May 25th, and I don't know that we have any outcome from that at this point. So we still have really only Acting Chair LaFleur at the Commission, and obviously that's not a quorum to take action on any requests we might put forward. We will be asking PJM to provide us with the full information and the background data associated with their 2 studies that they have done. We may not know what a phase angle deviation is, but we want to know what the number was. And we want to be able to have that so that we can include that in our filing and the filing direction that we take at FERC. I would also like to point out that PJM recently filed, I think it was April 13th, they recently filed a revised Schedule 12 to incorporate the cost responsibility for the artificial island project, which has been, the stay has been lifted by the PJM board. And PJM filed this revised Schedule 12. It's FERC ER 17-1420. And we will be taking a look at whether we will be protesting that filing or whether we will be filing another complaint related to that filing. But we will be looking at that and making some determinations. Obviously, this was a joint petition, large group, the public advocate, several other players, and we will be talking with all of them to determine what actions that we would like to take with respect to this. Somehow we just have to get the PJM information into the process so that FERC has to consider it with respect to cost allocation. If you have any questions on it, I can wave and Mr. Farber will come running into the room and provide you with all the details that you might need. But other than that, that's pretty much my update right now. We're in discussions and hopefully we will have an opportunity to brief you more clearly on what actions we're going to be taking as we move forward.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate the update on artificial island. Obviously, what Delaware wants is what's fair for the Delaware consumers. We want to pay our fair share, whatever that is. But we obviously find our present circumstances to be untenable and unjust, and so the fight will go on. And hopefully what will happen is that the transmission owners will look at this very closely and hopefully budge from their unwavering past position of opposition to anything but the rate, the tariff that was presently on the floor. I think it's patently unjust, and I think that their position is a losing one legally, but they have a right to contest it, and this fight might go on until there's a new commission sitting here in Delaware before it's finally resolved. But hopefully it doesn't go that long. I do think that PJM has got to be thanked for all the hard work they've done and the effort they put into this. So I'd like to express my appreciation anyway to PJM and their planning outfit. They've done a great job to put together a couple of very viable alternatives to the present tariff. So once again, my thanks to PJM. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Thank you, Chair Winslow. I'm going to change my order a little bit on the director's comments. I would like to make note that we will be having an evidentiary hearing on Phase 2 Cost Allocation Manual for Suez Water, and it'll be held on June the 29th at 10 a.m. at the Carville State Office Building, the third floor conference room, where we will be taking testimony from Suez Water and staff on the Phase 2 Cost Allocation Manual. This is a carryover from the prior rate proceeding, and this is more or less a Phase 2 of that. That'll be having its evidentiary hearing on the 29th. And I would also like to make note that our next commission meeting is going to be on Tuesday, July the 11th. We're going to have everybody take off on July the 4th, and we didn't want to compromise anybody's holidays in that week, so we decided to make it the following week. So we will look forward to seeing your smiling faces on July the 11th at our next commission meeting. Now, I will step back. I have one item left under director's comments. As you are aware, Chesapeake Utilities Corporation had filed an appeal with the Superior Court with respect to interventions in their rate case. And I will let Mr. Willard, did you want to talk about the information? And And you may want to go into executive session, depending on what you'd like to do with respect to any legal strategies that you may be pursuing with respect to this. So I will just offer that as an option.
Okay, thank you, Bob. When this happened, I was very happy to hear that Chesapeake had decided to appeal this decision because we had really never had any legal guidance with respect to intervention since the time I've been on the commission. There's really no, besides our own rules and regulations. And we obviously over the years had a pretty liberal process as far as interventions were concerned. But we have had this appeal now, and the judge has given us further instructions about our rule and what our role is in terms of interventions, which I think is helpful to us. But I do think that we need to talk in confidence with our union on this issue. We don't need to be briefed on it, Mr. Willard, because this is very recent, and I think everyone recalls what occurred and why it occurred. And so if we could maybe have a motion to go into executive session for just a short period of time to discuss the appeal issue, and then we can come out of executive session and have a vote if that's necessary.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on the motion to go into executive session? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion is carried. We'll go into executive session.